Hello everyone! Thank you for visiting our channel. Have you ever experienced such like stories? Emily and Joseph met one spring day at a cafe. At the time, Emily was studying in her final year at university and was sitting in the cafe nearby, waiting for her academic supervisor to become available. Joseph, on the other hand, had just entered the first cafe he saw to have lunch. He had recently switched to a higher-paying job and was still unfamiliar with the area. Joseph was 10 years older than Emily and looked very dignified, which pleased her when he asked if he could keep her company and get to know her. They struck up a conversation, and their relationship developed very quickly. Within 6 months, they moved in together and got married just 3 months later. Now Emily was no longer living in an old rundown dormitory, but in the comfortable apartment of her husband. Joseph told her that she didn't need to rush to find a job, but she wasn't sure yet. He would take care of everything. Emily gratefully accepted this offer and decided to take some time off to relax. This break lasted for several years, but her spouse did not object. During dinner one day, Emily informed Joseph that she would be attending her best friend's birthday celebration next week. They had been friends since their first year of university. Sarah decided to gather her friends at her favorite cafe. Joseph didn't mind, as he was used to mostly hanging out separately with his own friends from his wife, so he made plans to spend the evening with his friends. On Friday evening, Emily put on her favorite party dress and headed to the meeting spot. Her friends were already waiting for her at the table. They happily greeted Emily, and then all together congratulated the birthday girl. In the middle of the evening, when they had already consumed quite a bit of alcohol, the girls saw 2 guys enter the same cafe who had studied with them in the same university. It was Ryan and Tyler, 2 brothers. Emily and Sarah exchanged meaningful glances. Both of them had been crazy about the brothers since their first year and constantly tried to attract the attention of the first handsome men of the institute. Sarah was in love with Tyler, and Emily had a crush on Ryan, but they never developed a relationship beyond fleeting flirting. Then, the guys noticed the 2 friends as well. They recognized their former classmates and took the initiative to start a conversation. They then suggested drinking together, and soon they were no longer strangers but good old acquaintances. This activity lasted for about 2 hours. It was already 11 p.m., and the other girlfriends were slowly leaving. They all had husbands or boyfriends. It was time to go home. Sarah had been actively flirting with Tyler all evening. It was clear that they had found common ground, and her friend was having a good time on her birthday. Emily was also talking to Ryan, but she tried to behave more modestly. She didn't want anyone in the group to start spreading rumors about her. Of course, she enjoyed the company of this man. Everything that was happening seemed like a dream, because she had been hopelessly in love with Ryan for so long, and in her student years, she couldn't even imagine that they would be talking so easily and smiling at each other like this. At some point, Emily caught a cunning look from her friend. At this time, her companion approached her. "Guys, everyone is leaving, but I don't want to stop the party. I suggest the 4 of us go to my place. We'll buy something else to drink on the way," Sarah said cheerfully. After these words, the 2 brothers happily nodded in agreement. Emily was very tense. She understood that the situation was slippery. She had a husband, and all these joint gatherings with guys would not look very decent. For a couple of minutes, she declined, while the others persuaded her. The voice of conscience ultimately drowned out the alcohol. The alcohol hit her head, and she finally gave in to the persuasion. They took a taxi and went to Sarah's house. On the way, Ryan confidently stroked Emily's knee, and she did not object. She decided to let the situation go. The guys mixed drinks at home, turned on music, and their small company continued to have fun. After about an hour, the guilty party sat down next to Emily, who was quite drunk, and said conspiratorially, "Emily, we have a great offer, listen." It turned out that Tyler suggested a threesome with his brother. But Sarah thought that since Ryan had long been interested in Emily, she would also want to join them. Emily looked at her close friend as if she were a stranger. How could she even think of such a thing? On the other hand, she couldn't help but notice how her former love, Ryan, had been eyeing her all evening, devouring her with his eyes. and she enjoyed such attention. At some point, her drunk mind began to draw explicit images in her head on which they were together with Ryan. Sarah encouraged her to go on this adventure, and the thought flashed through Emily's head, when will such a chance come up again? Her husband is very conservative, preferring only the most mundane and proven scenarios. How will he find out what happened tonight? It's only a one-time thing after all. For courage, she downed her glass in one gulp. "Let's try it," she said, and everyone smiled. When it was all over, Emily quickly showered, got dressed, and left for home. She was lucky. She arrived home earlier than her husband and could pretend that she had already gone to bed, and that she and Joseph had only come home half an hour later. He saw that his wife was already asleep, quickly washed himself, and also lay down. He didn't notice anything strange that evening. A month passed. One day, Joseph said that his friends were planning to relax in a cottage outside the city on the weekend and invited them together. Emily had only met her spouse's company a couple of times. Everyone there was much older than her, and she was not very comfortable spending time with them for long. The wife agreed to go, but asked to take Sarah with her to not get lost in an unfamiliar company. Already on the spot, everyone present drank, and communication became easier. Suddenly, someone suggested playing a game called Never Have I Ever. In turn, you had to say what you had never done in your life, and if someone had already done it, they had to drink. The company was having a great time. Everyone laughed until one of the friends said that he had never had more intimacy than with one partner at a time in his life. Everyone started looking around awkwardly, but only Sarah emptied her glass. Oh. Everyone leaned in interestedly, and additional questions rained down immediately. Joseph, who was planning to get behind the wheel the next morning, only observed the game from the sidelines that evening. He looked at his wife after her friend's confession, and Emily looked away and blushed deeply. Joseph continued to look at his wife in amazement. As for Sarah, she seemed to enjoy being in the spotlight, so she began to share the details of that evening. "But it was my birthday, and I was in love with this guy since university when I saw him with his brother, and I thought I'd give it a try." Suddenly something clicked in Joseph's mind. Could it be that this was after the same celebration his wife had gone to? Otherwise, why did she blush at her friend's words and not mention anything about him after the holiday, when everyone was already quite drunk, and Sarah was trying to flirt with one unmarried guest? Joseph approached her and distracted her from that activity. He saw that the woman was not in control of what she was saying in her state, so he started asking her about her birthday and what happened after. It didn't take him long, and the friend opened up, revealing Emily's involvement. Joseph left the cottage alone. He did not want to see his wife again after learning such details about her. He went home with a firm intention to break up with Emily forever. The man did not hesitate or procrastinate, and soon they really divorced. Emily tried to apologize and make amends, but it was already decided. She was kicked out of Joseph's apartment with all her things. She asked to live with her friend for a while, and Sarah couldn't refuse her. The woman thought that the divorce was the worst thing that had happened to her in a while, but then something else happened. It turned out that Ryan and Tyler did not keep their experiment a secret that night as they had agreed. On the contrary, they proudly told everyone about it. And here the women were in for a surprise. Soon they began to receive calls and messages from unknown men with various indecent proposals. There were so many of these calls that they had to change their numbers. Since Emily's husband no longer supported her, she had to look for work. As it turned out, with a diploma but no experience, she was not the most desirable candidate in her field. So she had to work as a cashier at the nearest store for a while. After several grueling shifts, she came home, fell onto her bed, and cried. She realized how foolish she had been. Simply because of curiosity and a desire to try something new, she lost her caring and loving man. She regretted her actions for a long time, but she couldn't turn back time, unfortunately. What do you think about this situation? Share your thoughts in the comments. And thank you for listening to the story until the end. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and be sure to like this video, as it will help us promote the channel. All the best.